What's up, guys? It's your boy King back from Royal Slash Gaming, and today we're coming at you with a new type of video. So I'm a big anime watcher. I grew up watching anime, and I still watch anime now. But there's one that stuck out to me recently, called Demonslayers. If you haven't watched it, it's a pretty cool one. I would recommend go watching it. But a little bit of spoilers into the Demonslayers show. They have elemental attacks that they can use, and so now I decided to make a video about all of the 9 pillars, which are these guys. My camera's backwards, as you can see here. Gonna talk about all 9 of these, and we're gonna give each 9 of the Demon Slayer pillars a Pokemon team. So let's go ahead and get on into this. So the first guy we're going to talk about is Giulio. He's the water pillar, and since he's the water pillar, he's going to be a water type trainer. And the water type fighting style in Demon Slayer is more of like a free flowing, sort of like a calm, just swift motion attacking. So I figured we could start him off by giving him a Floatzel. I could really see him getting a Floatzel, just because it is just like a floating Pokemon. It just cruises down the river, but he is a fast attacking Pokemon. Next up, you got a Gyarados, because it's a Gyarados. He's super strong, super fast, and he just does soar through the water at good speeds. He's a decently fast Pokemon, and he can decently attack hard, which is what the fighting style of the water pillar does. So yeah, I could see him really getting a Gyarados. Next up, we've got a Sharpedo. I had to give him a Sharpedo. It's a shark, which means it's one of the fastest animals in the water. So we just had to give him a Sharpedo. Next one seems a little weird. So I gave a lot of these sort of like a joke Pokemon, because it is like a funny thing, and especially Giyu himself gets picked on a lot. So the joke Pokemon, I gave him 2 actually. One of them is a Quagsire. Now you might be thinking, why did I give him a Quagsire? Well, Quagsire is a joke Pokemon. He is like a funny looking Pokemon, and but he is a pretty bulky and strong Pokemon in his own right. So I gave him a Quagsire just because I think it would be a good idea to give him something bulky. It's just because all of his other stuff is a little bit weaker on the physical side, and so they just need a little bit of help on that defensive side. Next up, we've got a Lapras. Lapras is probably the most calm water type that just sails through the ocean, just taking its own time, just going through. But it is, again, another strong water type, and I think it would fit his personality really well. And last but not least, for Giyu, I could see this man having a Cramorant, another joke character, because they would be like, why do you have a Cramorant? It's because basically he has no friends, is basically the joke that they make. He's a loner, and I've always just thought that Cramorant fit that description too. So I could just see him having a Cramorant, sort of like a James and a Carnivine sort of deal. The Cramorant just sits there and attacks his head. I could just see that going on in the show. So yeah, that's Giyu, the water pillar. Next up, we've got Mitsuri, and she is the love pillar. And for her Pokemon, we're going to give her the fairy type. And we're going to start off with a Florges. Now, some of these Pokemon are a little weird, but I'll explain it anyways. So the Florges is because it's a flower. It's just a big giant flower. And so I was just thinking, you know, it's a love. People like flowers, and flowers are synonymous with love. So it just fit. Next up, we've got a Sylveon. And the reason I did this is because you have to have max friendship, and the other way in Gen 6 that you help evolve it, but it has to initially have max friendship, which is just basically max love with your Pokemon. So I just thought that that would fit into her, and her having a Sylveon would be a really cool addition to her team. Next up, we got Gardevoir. The reason Gardevoir is here is it could also be a Mega Gardevoir, but let's just say Megas aren't in here, so it's just a normal Gardevoir. Gardevoir herself is one of the most humanoid Pokemon. And I think a lot of people, especially in the game, talk about Gardevoir in that sort of nature. And there used to be, hint hint, there used to be a little story behind Gardevoir, and how Pokemon and human used to be together as families. And so Gardevoir was like one of the big centerpieces. And I could just imagine her being, it just looks like a bride. To me, she's got the long gown and the dress, and so to me, it's just another Pokemon that's based around love. Next up, we got an Alolan Ninetales. The reason I chose an Alolan Ninetales is because it is more of like a calm-natured, free spirit thing, which is basically what Mitsuri is. And it's pretty cool that you would have her. It is an ice type, so it is a more chill Pokemon, but it is a fairy type. And I think it would fit her personality a lot too. That's why I chose the Alolan Ninetales above like a Clefable. Yeah, that's really just about that one. The next one is a Togekiss. Togekiss I could see being a part of this team just because of how you have to have friendship to evolve it from a Togepi to begin with. And then it's just like Cynthia. Cynthia had one, and Cynthia's like a really nice, caring person in the anime. In the game, she's a mean little devil who's trying to beat you. But the Togekiss is a really strong Pokemon. It really fits her, and it's just a really nice fairy type Pokemon. The last one for her team is a Galarian Rapidash. I know it is a newer Pokemon, but I gave him a Cramorant earlier, but it's okay. So the Galarian Rapidash, it is a giant horse, and horses are another Pokemon that symbolizes love to some people. So I just seeing that the free-flowing pink and purple fit her aesthetic, and it's just another fairy type Pokemon that would fit her as well. Next up, we got Obania. Sorry if I pronounce these wrong. I'm trying, but for him, he is the snake pillar in the game, and for me, I could see him being a poison type Pokemon trainer. There isn't very many snakes in Pokemon, but there are a few, and so initially I just gave him those two. So the first one, we've got Arbok. It is just a strong poison type, but it is a snake. Next up, we've got Survivor. Again, it's another good poison type and another snake. After that, that's really the only two we have. So I kind of had to fill it in with other Pokemon that I think would fit him better. First up, we got Scolipede. I could see him having a Scolipede just solely because it is just a strong poison type, and he is a really good poison type Pokemon. But it is also a centipede, so it is like extra long and has little feet tendrils that come out. But I tried to get everything that is either big or connected to some type of venomous thing, because all of his attacks they deal with like a type of venom or poison. So that's why I picked this team. So I just feel like Scolipede would be a good fit because it is like a longer, stretchier Pokemon. Up next, we got Vileplume. You might be wondering, that's not a snake, it's a giant flower. True, but the reason I put Vileplume on here is because this character has a crush on the love pillar, and just seeing as a Vileplume is just another big flower, but it has to be a poison type flower, unlike her fairy type. That's why I gave her a Florges and gave him a Vileplume, because it is him trying to show her that he loves her, but he still has to be a strong fighting poison type pillar and hide his emotions for some of it. So that's why he gets a flower, but a different type of flower. Next up is a Salazzle, and going back to the Scolipede, sort of deal, it is just another longer, strong poison type. It is a type of lizard, which are reptiles, and snakes are reptiles, so they fit together. And it's just another strong poison type Pokemon that would get in there quick, do some damage, and then leave. So that's just why I gave him that. Alright, and so finally for his team, we've got a Toxtricity. Again, it's sort of like the Salazzle. It is just a bigger reptile-looking type Pokemon that is a strong poison type. I could see him having the low-key form because he is a shyer, more character, and I believe it fits his aesthetic more than the amped up form. But I do see him having a low-key Toxicity for his team. And now we're gonna move on. Next up, we've got Sonomy, and you would think by looking at Sonomy, you would think I would choose fighting type, but actually he is the wind pillar, which means he has to go with a flying type Pokemon. Now, there are some flying type Pokemon that aren't really flying, and they're more ground based and attack you with the ground, but they can still fly. But they are like meaner looking Pokemon than like a Pidgey or a Starly. And so for that, his first Pokemon I believe is going to be a Fearow, sticking with that same aesthetic and that same base knowledge that we have, that he's like a strong physical person who's really wants to fight. Fearow to me is Gen 1's version of that bird. It's something that's always trying to pick a fight with somebody, and I could just see him having the Fearow just to push it in that he's you don't mess with this man. He's super strong. He's going to attack you. Next, we got a Dodrio. It's the same thing. He's just a ground-based fighting type bird, but he's a flying type Pokemon. He's got 3 heads, just cuz. And next up, we've got a Braviary. Braviary fits this man's personality. He comes off as being someone who's rude and who's mean to people, and he's just a bad person, but he's actually one of the braver guys in the entire show when it comes to fighting the different demons. And so he gets a Braviary just to reflect that hidden nature of himself. Next up, I had to give it to him since he is a flying type, sound like a wind pillar, but he is like an extreme fighter. I had to give him a Hawlucha. This man needs a Hawlucha. It's basically the only fighting flying we have, and it's one of the best Pokemon that was in Generation 6. So yes, giving him the fighting and flying Pokemon Hawlucha, I think fits this man's team really well, and also his personality really well. Next up, we got a Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz, instead of Braviary, where Braviary was the hidden look at Sonomy, Mandibuzz is his outward, sort of how he walks himself for the rest of the people to see. Mandibuzz is like, since it is the dark type, flying type, it is like a more shadowy, mean looking Pokemon, and I think that just fits his initial appearance that you see in the show better with, I think, a Mandibuzz. And lastly, giving this man a Staraptor, mainly because when you evolve Staravia into Staraptor, it learns close combat, and I've always thought that Staraptor wasn't really a mean looking Pokemon, but he was just this tough, down to earth, will fight you Pokemon with his little talons using close combat, which I never understood, but I think it works out for this team a lot. So yeah, that's his team. I think it does a really good all-around set for Sonomy. Next up, we got Gomi. This man is the blind rock pillar or stone pillar, and for that team, I got to go with rock type. There's not many rock types that are blind, so this one was an initial harder one to go through. But I think I got a pretty all-around good team for this guy. That fits himself. Again with the jokey characters, because he does come off as like a jokey character at first. So I give this man a Sudowoodo. Sudowoodo is one of the most jokier characters in the show, but it is also a strong rock type Pokemon, and it is one of the only pure rock types that's on this list for rock. Because there's a lot of rock and ground and a lot of other rock Pokemon, but not many very just pure rock. So I gave him just a Sudowoodo just because I thought it would fit and it'd be a pretty cool joke character to have in there. Next up, the first big boy on his team, we've got a Gigalith. So they show him as being someone that's super strong and who's like a mountain and can't be moved, pretty much. So a lot of these Pokemon symbolize that. And so the first one is the Gigalith. Gigalith is basically a giant monolith mountain, basically how you describe it. But yeah, Gigalith I could see being a part of this team because it is just such a big and strong, bulky rock type Pokemon. Up is the Stonejourner. I could see him having a Stonejourner because Gomi is a philosopher type character. He's got like prayer beads, he's got really cool things, and he's blind, so he's more wise in the show because that's how anime works, is if you're blind, you're wiser. So I gave him a Stonejourner because Stonejourner is just a really big bulky Pokemon, but it is also based off the Stonehenge, which has been in a lot of mythology and a lot of fictional works as being a very good place for that type of thing, a good like wisdom place. There's a story where Merlin went there once and just studied a bunch of knowledge. So it's similar to that with Gomi. Next up, I had to give this man a Rhyperior just because Rhyperior is probably one of, if not the strongest, rock type and ground type Pokemon within the Pokemon game. So I had to just give him that because he is one of the strongest pillars in the show, and so I had to give the strongest pillar one of the strongest rock type Pokemons of his typing. So that's why I gave him a Rhyperior. Next up, we've got a Bastiodon. The reason I gave him a Bastiodon is because recently a lot of the rock type gym leaders have had a fossil type Pokemon, and I was looking through all the fossil types and I was like, okay, what would fit this man the best? It needs to be something super bulky, it needs to be something super strong, and it needs to be something that fit his sort of calm, not really calm, but wise sort of aesthetic, and I thought Bastiodon fit that. To me, Bastiodon's super big, super bulky, and if it was able to talk, if they did like a live action, or not like live action, if they did a animated show of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, I could see them going to a Bastiodon, asking him a bunch of questions about the place. Last up, we've got a Probopass. I gave this man a Probopass solely based on the fact that it's just another strong physical rock type. I originally thought Probopass and Nosepass were another pure rock type, but to my demise, Probopass is rock steel, but it still fits. He is just another strong, sort of big Pokemon, sort of like the Gigalith, and that's the same reason I put him on here. Alright, next up is one of my favorite pillars in the show. We've got Kujiro. Kujiro is the fire pillar, and since he's the fire pillar, you know he's got to be the fire type trainer. So first up for this man's team, we've got a Magmortar. I can see this man having a Magmortar because his fighting style is very burst flame and very like quick fire, because fire is very deadly and very quick. So I can see him having a Magmortar just for the power outage that Magmortar can put out. He's not really like a quick Pokemon, but he's a super strong fire type Pokemon. So now, since we've got the bulky fire type, now we're going to get into the fast hard hitters. First up, we got a Blaziken. I tried to not give them starters, but I had to give this man 2 starters because of the fact that there's not very many fire types to choose from for this man's team. So the first one is a Blaziken. It is a giant fire chicken who's very strong at fighting, who's very quick, and that just, to me, fits out him as a character. Next up in that same vein is an Infernape. Infernape's a giant monkey who's on fire, and he's very quick, very strong, just like the Blaziken. They're both fighting type as well. Just like the Blaziken, he'll get in and out and just be done, sort of like how Kokorojo fights. Next up, we've got a Heatmor. You might be wondering why I put Heatmor on here, and I was wondering that too. But it is a pure fire type, which there's not many of those left. But Heatmor, to me, I think is pretty cool because he is more of a quiet character, more of a hidden character, and you don't really see him come out that much. But when he does, he is a super strong fire type character. So I feel like the Heatmor is the same because Heatmor's always digging, looking for Durants, so you never really see him that much. But when he does come out, he's super strong, super fast, and he will burn you with Fire Lash, which is basically his move in Gen 5 that just made me want to hate this thing. But I think it fits this man's team all around really good as well. Next up, we got a Darmanitan, not Galarian Darmanitan, the original Darmanitan. And I could see this man having this because he is one of the younger pillars, but he is one of the strongest pillars. And Darmanitan to me is one of the strongest fire type Pokemons in all of the game. He may be beaten out nowadays by different ones, but in his time he was the strongest, sort of just like how the fire pillar in his time was the strongest of the pillars. So yeah, that's just why he's on here. Next up and last for his team, I had to give this man an Arcanine. Arcanine is probably one of the most recognizable fire types, not talking about Charizard. It's an Arcanine. He's a dog, and he's super fast and super strong. And that's just Kokorojo, period. That's just how his fighting style is, and that's just how his personality is. He's short with you, but not really like mean short. He gets to the point quick, and he also fights really quick because that's just how his fighting style and fire style is. It's just something that needs to be super quick, in and out, done. Next up is Tengen. So Tengen is the sound pillar. So there's not really a sound type, but I think I found a pretty good team to sort of fill out that, and I gave him the normal type team, just because there isn't like a sound based thing, but there are a lot of sound based moves within the normal type category of typings and move typings in Pokemon. So first up, I give this man an Exploud because it's an Exploud. He's one of the, if not the most well-known Pokemon for being a sound based Pokemon. He was one of the first ones to have Soundproof, which is a Pokemon ability, and also to have Uproar, which is another sound-based Pokemon move. Next up, we got an Audino, because Audino to me represents audio, sort of like an audio cable. And I just feel like it's another Pokemon that has a bunch of sound-based moves. And I feel like it would be a good fit to him because it is just another sound-based Pokemon. Up next, we got a Chatot. I didn't want to put too many crossover Pokemon, so I'll go out of double typings onto here. So I had to put a Chatot on here, just because it is a very musical Pokemon, which is a very sound-based idea. And he's got a clef on his tail, which represents his musicalness, and his name is Chatot because he's going to chat your ear off. But he's also got a move called Chatter, which is a sound-based move that does a lot of damage, apparently. I didn't even know it does that much damage. But Chatot fits his team because he is another sound-based character, and it is a sound-based pillar we are talking about. Up next is Obstagoon, and you might be wondering why I put Obstagoon on here. And because he's a rock and roll star, man. I mean, when he came out, the dark type gym leader he's with in Pokemon Sword and Shield is a rock star. And so Obstagoon to me just fits that build as being like the lead singer, I guess, of this team. And so since Tengen is a sound-based character, he needed to have a rock star on his team to lead the way with his sound. Next up is the Ambipom. I can see Ambipom being a part of this team solely based on how I picture Ambipom. I always pictured Ambipom just running around with his tail hands, banging on some drums, running around like a Donkey Kong game, sort of the one that we had where we had to bang the drums to move Donkey Kong. And another reason is because in the anime, Ambipom is in the contest, and there's some singing aspect to the contest, which means Ambipom is already in quote-unquote a band, so he already fits into this sound-based nature. So I just feel like he'd be a good fit for Tengen, is the Ambipom. And lastly, solely based on this Pokemon knowing one move, he gets the fit. Now we've got Slacking, and the whole reason Slacking is on here is because he can learn the move Belly Drum, and that just sets it in. He's just another monkey that can bang a drum. But I do feel like he needed something super bulky because there's not a lot of bulky normal types out here. So I gave a little bit of leeway and gave this man a Slacking. I know Slacking is not the best because it does have the hindering ability that it does, but I feel like he can overcome this. And I feel like Slacking is a good fit for the sound pillar Tengen. Next up we got Mitsuri. I suck at names, I'm sorry. But he is the mist pillar, and there's not a lot of mist Pokemon. I thought about trying to give this man clouds because some of his fighting style is about clouds, but I think I found another type that fits in there better. I'm giving him the ice type because ice is more synonymous with mist. I can't give him water, and I can't give him like a bunch of cloud Pokemon because that doesn't really make any sense. So I give him ice, good middle ground between the two. And the first Pokemon I gave him is a Castform. And the reason for that is Castform is a Pokemon that can transform between different weather abilities, but it has a mist form and a ice form, which I think would fit this team and fit this character as well. Next up we got a Frostlass. Frostlass is just another mystic Pokemon. See what I did there? But Frostlass is shown to have like mist come off of her whenever she gets thrown out of a Pokeball, and also when she's just floating around. And it is just another strong ice ghost type, but I feel like it would fit his character a lot because of his sword styles that he has, being super strong even though it is a mist and type of ice. There's not really many very like super strong Pokemon that fit this typing because ice is already like a weaker type. But I feel like Frostlass would be a good fit for this team. Next up, we've got the big bulk of the team, Mr. Chunky himself, Abomasnow. I could see Mitsuri getting an Abomasnow just because it can learn Hail, or it has the ability Storm Warning, which creates a hail every time it comes out. And that to me fits this man's personality a lot. I sort of tried to go for a lot of Pokemon that had Snow Warning or a type of Hail ability or can learn Hail. So Abomasnow fits this because he needs something super bulky and super strong to fit on the team, and Abomasnow just fit that deal as well. Next up, since we had a Frostlass, I had to give this man a Glalie, just because it is another misty Pokemon who can learn Hail and has Snow Warning as one of his abilities. I could also see him just being a super strong Pokemon to fill out his team because this character is super strong in the show. He doesn't really look it because he is the youngest pillar, but he is super strong within the show and the manga. Next up is a little weird, but hear me out. Okay. Next up is a Cryogonal. And the reason I put Cryogonal is because it's a snowflake. And anytime I think about snow falling and mist, I just think little snowflakes falling on the ground. Now, Cryogonal is a weird Pokemon because it doesn't really get that much love, and it is just a super weird Pokemon to begin with. But I feel like Mitsuri would have a Cryogonal just because he would think it'd be a really cool Pokemon, even though other people don't. And I just feel like it just fits him as a character for himself to just have a Cryogonal. And lastly, something I think is really funny is a quote-unquote joke Pokemon for his team. That is actually a pretty good Pokemon when it comes to it. Is an Eskew. And this little penguin, I think, fits Mitsuri's personality the best as a Pokemon, and also has a pretty cool ability called Ice Face. But I think it's pretty cool because one of Mitsuri's moves is sort of making like an ice shield, and then it just breaks. Sort of like how Ice Face does. If once it gets to a certain health, it breaks the Ice Face and goes to a big boy form. But I think it's really cool, and I think it would be a cool fit for his team. Next up, and finally for the pillars, is one of the fan favorite pillars, Shinobu. She is the insect pillar, but now you might be thinking, she's got a butterfly aesthetic. I didn't just give her every butterfly in the game. No, I gave her almost every butterfly and every moth in the game. That's what I did. So, first up, we've got a Butterfree. It is the most well-known butterfly Pokemon. It is basically just a butterfly, and her aesthetic is very purple and very white, sort of like how the Butterfree is. And it's got she's got a Butterfree, she's got a butterfly on her hair pin. And I feel like Butterfree would just be something that's really synonymous with her. Next up, we've got a Venomoth. The reason for Venomoth is her attacks leave you stunned and leave you poisoned. So I had to give her Butterfrees and Butterfly Pokemon just for her design, but also gave her some Moth and some Poison type Pokemon just to fill out of her attack reasons. So the first one of that is Venomoth. Venomoth is a really good strong poison bug Pokemon. It doesn't really get that much love in the game and in the show, but I feel like it would be a really good set for her because it is one of the first bug poisons in the game, and it is one of the strongest moth type. If you look at all the moth Pokemon within the game, it is one of the strongest ones. Next up, we got another Butterfly. We've got Beautifly, and since we've got Beautifly, we've got Dustox. Sort of the next pairing when they made a Butterfly and Moth, they made Beautifly and Dustox. Beautifly is the reason that we have Butterfree, and Dustox is for the same reason we have the Venomoth. So now we get to a weird part where there's not very many Butterfly and Moth Pokemon left that are together with themselves. So the first thing I picked was a Vivillon. It is the Gen 6 Butterfly. And I think she would have one that whichever region matches her hairpin butterfly more is the one I would think she would have. I think it's just the normal Vivillon, but there are a bunch of different types of Vivillons out there that may match hers better. But just whichever one fits her hairpin the best. Lastly, it is a moth, but it is something that's super strong. And I could see her having that because in the show she doesn't really look like she's the strongest pillar, but she is like a really strong character within the show. So I could see her having a Volcarona just because it is a moth looking Pokemon. Now it isn't poison, but it is bug fire. I could see her having this, and it's just something that she just throws out as like the last minute, last resort deal. It's just a super strong bug Pokemon, and I could just see her having that as like a last ditch effort for her as her final Pokemon. So that has been this video. That has been all of the pillars and all of their Pokemon teams. This took a lot of work and a lot of just sitting there reading the different Pokemons. So I hope you guys have enjoyed, and if you did, make sure you like, comment, subscribe down below. And if you want to see either more videos like this where I go through and find an anime and match them with a Pokemon team, or if you just want to see more top 10 or countdown videos, let us know down below, and we'll catch you guys later. Bye guys.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out our video. If you see more videos like that, click right here.
If you want to see the same playlist, click right here.
And if you want to subscribe, click right here. Thanks,
Bye,
guys.